ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. I'm sorry I had to miss out on last week's session because of a course that I was running. So here I am back again. At the start of this entire webinar, which I started, I think now this is the 24th session. So 23 sessions ago when I started this webinar, I had mentioned that the topic is I own my life and that it is through the lens of Bhagavad Gita. And I had also mentioned that I don't have a plan of action that these are the verses I'm going to take, this is how I'm going to move forward. I will take it as they come. This was my mindset even at that time, and it continues even now. But let us understand that there are many technical subjects in Bhagavad Gita. So when I want to discuss life from the lens of technical subjects, it becomes too intense, it becomes very, it needs to be specific. Now, I have tried to retain simplicity in the way I have gone about in explaining the entire structure of the Bhagavad Gita, because it is important that how it is useful to me in my life, the way I have absorbed it, and I want to share that. So in that respect, my competence is limited. My competence is limited in the sense that I can share in simple terms the way it is going to be useful to me or to anyone in life. I am not an acharya, I am not a teacher. So in that perspective is how I have started. So I have taken the verses as they came, but now we are entering into a realm of certain technical subjects. So when technical subjects come, I cannot take the role of that acharya or a teacher and try to explain it technically. I still have to ensure I maintain simplicity in the explanation that I have. And what I'm doing is basically sharing my own reflections, my own experiences, which are at the mental level. So the benefit is that whatever is the benefit I have derived out of it as a student of the Gita, I have derived out of it. I am basically trying to share those insights so that it can help others. That is the thinking with which I am moving ahead. So last time when we stopped a couple of weeks ago, we stopped with an understanding of our need to climb over our own imprints of the past tendencies. The word that we used was vasanas, the past tendencies which we have cultivated. We have cultivated from our experiences, we have stored them in our subjective equipment, and which is basically determining our personality. We knew that what are the equipments with which all of us function, the body, the mind and the intellect, through which we connect with the world of the objects, emotions and thoughts, as the perceiver of the objects, as the feeler of the emotions, and as the thinker of those thoughts. But the varying factor in each of us which makes our personality distinct is these bundle of imprints which are there in us and which makes each of us work in a different pattern, if I would say so. So this is what is governing our present thoughts and actions. But we also understood that we will remember that life principle which is energizing all of this, and the word that we ended with last time was that it is called the Imperishable Brahman, and the word in Sanskrit is Akshara Brahman. So today we are going to deal with chapter 8, and we are going to deal with the entire chapter 8 in one session. So I will take this forward by playing verse 1 to 16 of chapter 8.
Atha Ashtamodhyayah Akshara Brahma Yogaha Arjuna Uvacha Kim Tad Brahma Kim Adhyatmam Kim Karma Purushottama Adhibhutam Cha Kim Proktam Adhidaivam Kim Uchyate Adhiyagnah Katham Gotra Dehesmin Madhusudana Prayanakale cha katham jneyosi niyatatmabhihi Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Aksharam Brahma Paramam Svabhavodhyatma Uchyate Bhuta Bhavodbhavakaro Visargah Karma Sannitaha अधिभूतं क्षरो भावः पुरुषश्चाधिदैवतम् अधियज्ञोऽहमेवात्र देहे देहभृताम्बर अन्तकाले च मामेव स्मरन् मुक्त्वा कलेवरम् यः प्रयाति समद्भावं याति नास्त्यत्र संशयः यं यं वापि स्मरन् भावं त्यजत्यन्ते कलेवरम् तं तमेवैति कौन्तेय सदा तद्भावभावितः तस्मात् सर्वेषु कालेषु मामनुस्मरयुध्य च मय्यर्पितमनो बुद्धिर्मामे वैश्यस्य संशयः अभ्यासयोगयुक्तेन चेतसा नान्यगामिना परमं पुरुषं दिव्यं याति पार्थानुचिन्तयन् कविं पुराणम् अनुशासितारम् अणोरणीयां समनुस्मरेद्यः सर्वस्य धातारमचिन्त्य रूपम् आदित्यवर्णं तमसः परस्तात् प्रयाणकाले मनसाचलेन भक्त्या युक्तो योगबलेन चैव भ्रुवोर्मध्ये प्राणमावेश्य सम्यक् सतं परं पुरुषमुपैति दिव्यम् यदक्षरं वेदविदो वदन्ति विशन्ति यद्यतयो वीतरागाः यदिच्छन्तो ब्रह्मचर्यं चरन्ति तत्ते पदं सङ्ग्रहेण प्रवक्ष्ये सर्वद्वाराणि संयम्य मनोहृदि निरुध्य च मूर्ध्याधायात्मनः प्राणमास्थितो योगधारणाम् ओमित्येकाक्षरं ब्रह्म व्याहरान् मामनुस्मरन् यः प्रयाति त्यजन् देहं स याति परमां गतिम् अनन्यचेताः सततं यो मां स्मरति नित्यशः तस्याहं सुलभः पार्थ नित्ययुक्तस्य योगिनः मामुपेत्य पुनर्जन्म दुःखालयमशाश्वतम् नाप्नुवन्ति महात्मानः संसिद्धिं परमां गताः आब्रह्मभुवनाल्लोकाः पुनरावर्तिनोऽर्जुन मामुपेत्य तु कौन्तेय पुनर्जन्म न विद्यते.
As I said, because I am taking this in one session, the audio will obviously be a little longer, but let us take this forward now. Now, what is this imperishable Brahman? What is the subjective reality that we are talking about? What are we talking about having to do our karma, our work in this manner, etc., etc.? What are we discussing? Now, what is perishable? I have a thought now. I am expressing that thought to you now, and this thought has perished. So, a thought which rises in my mind and which I have expressed in whatever manner I am supposed to do, the thought has perished. I have a feeling that at the moment I am very happy, and till the next moment when I have another feeling, maybe of fear or something like that, this will last and then this will perish too. So every experience that we have, that experience itself is perishing. Obviously all materials are perishing. Whatever materials we encounter in the world, whatever objects we encounter in the world, we ourselves are perishing. So there has to be a principle which is ensuring that all of these are alive when they are alive. That principle is the imperishable one, because that doesn't perish. The moment I am coming with another thought, that thought also needs energy. That energy is this imperishable Brahman. So this is the subjective reality that we are talking about. So then what is it? What are we talking about karma? What is it? What are we talking about work? Let us understand this. Now when we spend our energy and we create something useful for us and for society, that is called work. When we talk about plants, what do the plants do? They respond, the animals act, we are the one who can work. So whatever work we do, it could be good, it could be bad. For example, now I am talking. It is work. So this talk that I am giving, it could be good, it could be bad, it could be mediocre. Like for example, I am singing while I am talking, that also is happening. Singing could be good or bad, but yet it is work. It is work that I am doing. So I am spending my energy to create something useful. Now I assume that it is useful for you. I assume that it is useful for me. If I do not do my work properly, it may not be useful for you. But then when I am working, I am thinking that it is useful for me. So like this, when I am doing all work, anything that I am doing, all the experiences that come out of my mind and intellect with the objects. Now at this moment the object is the talk which is happening in the front of the camera. You are the objects who are the subjects who are listening. So you become the object for the conversation itself. So all these experiences in the world that we do, the result that we get is called our karma phala. This entire experiences itself is the karma phala, or the result, the fruit of our work. Now some of these are not necessarily from our own work. Some of these are from our observed experiences. For example, you see somebody cheating somebody out of money or whatever it is. You observe, you did not get cheated. You saw that. Now when you saw that, in your mind, the experience that is retained is that if I become a victim of such a thing, I will be cheated. So in your mind, that subjective experiences of somebody else's experience is stored in your mind. Like this, all the experiences that we have encountered from childhood onwards, they all get imprinted in our subjective mind, and which is what we call as our imprints or our vasana. That bundle of vasanas that we are talking about inside in our subjective mind is nothing but the imprints of all these experiences which have got stored in our mind, and that has become the honeycomb of our imprints. I will just share a slide for you to understand what I am talking about. So every experience that comes to us becomes the honeycomb of our experiences. Now this honeycomb of these experiences, like one bee comes and it takes up one bit of honey. Like this, all the bees together is how they have constructed the honeycomb itself. And what are we doing? From the imprints that we have gathered, what are we doing? We squeeze those imprints and we enjoy the experiences, or maybe sometimes we suffer sorrows also, because from the imprints that we have stored from our experiences, either our own or from whatever we learned from the world, these experiences we want to we squeeze that out in the way we work in the world. In the way we work, those experiences give us the fruits of our own actions. This is what happens. So I'll take this forward now. I'll stop sharing. So who's the one who destroys this? When you are talking about climbing over these imprints, because then only we will be in a position to recognize that imperishable Brahman, that principle which is operating all this. Who's the one who destroys all this? The word that is used here, and which is beautiful word for Krishna, is Madhu Sudana. Madhu, honeycomb. Sudana, the one who demolishes it. What is it? When you have this principle energizing you and you are in a position to recognize that, by its own, this honeycomb of all these experiences gets destroyed from our mind, and we are in a position to collect imprints out of the way we choose in terms of the good imprints that we want, which will make us progress in life. Now let us look at how we were born. We were born, as I already explained, we were born from the womb of our mother. Parents gave us a name, etc., etc. So the principle which gave birth to us itself, and similarly the principle which gave birth to the plants, the animals, everything, all other beings in the world itself, the principle is this life principle which has given the energy for our parents to give birth to us, for the plant to come up from the soil, from the seed that it came. So everything, the names and forms itself came from that principle, and they exist there because without that we can't function. And once we are gone, where will it go? It will go back into that principle. That is the absolute reality that we are discussing. So its very nature is to give existence to each one of us and to everything else in the world itself. So in that perspective, when we look at it, the world minus this Brahman, imperishable Brahman that we are talking about, the world minus that is zero. Exactly similar to a necklace of which you remove all the gold, the necklace doesn't exist anymore, because the gold is the principle which is making the necklace a necklace. If you remove the gold from there, the necklace doesn't remain. Similarly is our own life. Now there are one of the terms which is used is here in this narrative is Adi Yajna. I just wanted to bring that to our understanding. When we do yajna, we all do a havan etc. at home. We do that very often. When we do a yajna, we give offerings of various objects like ghee, honey, rice, everything. We give offerings of various objects into the fire. Now, as we offer those objects into the fire leaps up. We see that suddenly it leaps up. It is an acknowledgement of the fire that I have received your offering. This, all of us, we must have come across this many times. Now, in our life itself, we have our five senses. We see with our eyes, we listen with our ears, we hear with our ears, we don't listen, we listen with our mind. We smell with our nose, we taste with our tongue, and we feel with our skin. That is what we do. Now, every experience that we have from these five senses, every feeling that comes to our mind, every thought that we discriminate in our intellect, as they are all happening within us itself, where is it all getting going? They are all going into that life principle which is energizing us. So it is like an offering into that fire of our own Brahman, the imperishable principle itself, which is within us. Now, how does the acknowledgement come out? The acknowledgement comes out in the form of our responses to various experiences. The way we respond to the various experiences, it could be a joyful response, it could be a sorrowful response. So, wherever we are, whatever we do, it is this principle, this imperishable Brahman that we are calling, it is this which is making it happen. So, whether it is our happiness, our life itself is because of we being energized by him. It is his place that we are making happy. The song that comes to my mind is हर खुशी हो जहाँ तू जहाँ भी रहे जिंदगी हो वहाँ तू जहाँ भी रहे. This is what it is. Wherever we are, whatever we do, it is that principle which is making us work, which is making us act. So as I said earlier, plants, they are also using this principle. Through this principle, sunlight will come in, water will come in, air will come in, whatever it is coming, they respond to the circumstances around them. What happens to animals? They respond also, but they act. They act with the need for fulfilling their hunger, their need for their security. They act. We are the only lucky ones that because of our intelligence, we are in a position to work. So how we work, what we think, depends entirely on what we store in that honeycomb. It is entirely left to us. I want to take another dimension, thought dimension. When we leave for a destination, we are leaving from here. I want to go from here somewhere. Where will I go? I'll share a slide to explain that. I am going from here to somewhere. That somewhere is in that light. There may be different routes, there may be winding road, straight road, road going up and down, whatever it is. But my destination is the place where I want to go. So if I carry a desire and I set out to fulfill it, what is it that I will achieve? I will achieve that desire only, no? If I go and say that I want to go and get a glass of water, unless between the time I go and get a glass of water, I realize that no, I don't want a glass of water, I want a glass of juice, I will go for getting a glass of water only. So if I desire something and I set out to fulfill it, I will achieve that desire only. So in similar way, if I were to look at it, if I think that I want to reach that principle, that Lord who's there within me. When I leave here, where will I reach? I will reach that place only, isn't it? So, if I say that I am going to heaven, heaven is a figurative word, a place where I'll feel happy, a place where I will feel contented, a place where I will be blissful, I will be contributing something good to everybody else. If that is the way I think, that is the place where I will go. I will not go anywhere else. So it is a question of what again I put inside as my imprint. What is my destination that I will chalk out and I want to reach there. So that is entirely left to me. So if you walk in that path, the song that comes to my mind is मेरा तो जो भी कदम है वो तेरी राह में है कि तू कहीं भी रहे तू मेरी निगाह में है. So in our own subjective intelligence, in our mind and intellect, we should be in a position to say that my destination is to reach that purity. It is to reach that state of mind where I can recognize this divine principle working through me, and that is where I want to go. So my every action in the path will be towards that direction. That is the way I will go. Now, when I take this chapter, the way the verses are described, sometimes it sounds very absurd, sometimes it sounds very fatalistic. I will give you one idea. Now, it says that when the individuality leaves the body at death, it will reach the same place where the individuality has identified with. So when you are leaving this world at the end of your time, if you think of the Lord, no matter who it is, he will reach the Lord directly. This is what it is, and this we have understood from our various experiences in the world, or maybe conversations. We must have heard this. Now, this basically premises that my experience of that Lord can happen only when I die, if I think about it. But that is not that is not the death we are talking about. There is a story in Bhagavatam of a person by name Ajamila. Now, Ajamila, apparently early part of his life, he was very devout. He had learnt a lot of scriptures, etc., 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 and he was very devoted, etc. But then later on, he became very greedy, developed a lot of negativities, and he was became an atheist. So that happened. So he was all the pap that you can probably do, you could attribute it to him. Now, he was on his deathbed. He had a son by name Narayana. Possibly, when he was on his deathbed, he may have wanted to say, "Are वो तिजोरी का चाबी उधर है, मेरा लॉकर का password ये है." Something like that must have said, and he must have got a thought that I want to call my son and tell him so and so is there, because I am going. At least now let him know where it is, because during my lifetime I never told him, because I thought that my son will take everything away from me. At least now I can tell him. Probably he thought like that, and he called Narayana. His son's name was Narayana. He called out Narayana and he died. So the story goes that because he called out Narayana at that moment, he went to Narayana. He went and merged with the Lord. This is the story. Now, I just want to explain one more thing which I learnt recently. Scientifically, recently some doctors, some neurosurgeons, etc., they were treating a patient of epilepsy. Now that patient was on his deathbed. So various probes, etc., must have been there, and they were monitoring his brain, etc. So when he died, when they declared that he was dead, heart stopped functioning, the vital organs stopped functioning. For 30 seconds after that, the brain was functioning. The brain was probably receiving some signals, so he was in a position to formulate certain thoughts. 30 seconds. This is recorded, and apparently, the way I read it, it was something which is a recent development. I don't know whether it is a recent development, if there is anybody else who has done it earlier. It gives us a point to think that when that happens, in that process, something which you desired or something higher that you desired is probably now going to catapult your journey. Nobody has gone, said that I died and I came back to tell you what happened. There was something on story of Jayaprakash Narayan who, twice they said that he died, but he came back. But I don't know about the story in terms of what are the experiences he recorded. But the point in this is, at the time when you are physically going away, whatever is the thought that you carry, that is where you will finally end up in. Now, for example, you have a bank account. How much money can you draw from your bank account? You can draw money from your bank account only as much as you have in that account. You cannot draw that which you did not put there. So similarly, when I were to look at it, how can you say that you will identify or recognize or realize or reach that principle if you did not put that principle even in your mind while you are living? So when you are living itself, the task that we have now itself is to develop this subjective understanding in our mind and start looking at life in this perspective, that we have to recognize that principle operating in us. So during my life, all this explanation was with respect to death. So during my life, how do I reach him? Because I don't think even in the Gita itself they are talking about death. If you remember what I said earlier, I die as a child to become a youth. I die as a youth to become a middle-aged fellow. I die as a middle-aged fellow to become an old-age man. Now, in all these processes, there is a death of a previous state. So, we probably are also looking at a death of a previous state. So, during my life, how do I reach him? While living, is it possible? So, when I have ended my mind and intellect at the seat of meditation, so which is why we said earlier in chapter 6 we spoke about meditation, chapter 7 we discussed about meditation and the details, etc. So at my seat of meditation, when I am contemplating, when my mind is calm, when the pressure of those imprints are no longer there, and my individuality is not identifying with my ego, at that point in time, I will be one with the Lord. So then everything, every work, every project, every success, every failure, whatever I do, it will be in the attitude of surrender to that Lord. So I will reach him every moment. In my various interactions in the world, every moment I will know that he is with me. So what is this? How do I do this? This is called by an exercise called Abhyasa Yoga. Now when we want our children to do something, what do we tell them? We tell the children, child, sit and work, do your practice, keep on doing this work. Abhyasa Yoga is nothing but a continuous, consistent practice with the belief that by practice I will complete my homework, I will complete my work, I will reach whatever is my destination. Because the mind's nature is to wander into various thoughts. So every time it will go away, smilingly bring it back to the point of attention where it was, whatever is the point of attention. So it is like, putting in circuses and all, we used to go and they used to give us that 10 rupees ka 10 ring. They will give you that ring and then you have to throw it and put it into that soap or a toy or a pen or a lighter or something like that. They would have kept it. So you want whatever you want, you will throw this ring. Invariably we will try to throw the ring at the smallest item, because then we think that the ring will go and sit there. But the way the ring is constructed with that bamboo, etc., that it will never go to where you want it. So you keep on doing it. Out of 10 rings, nothing will go. Then you say 10 rupees or 10 rings, and then finally as you keep on throwing, one will land on a pencil or a pen or something like that, and then you say I won. You spend 20 rupees to get a 2 rupees pen. So this practice that you kept on doing, similar to that is the practice of bringing in your mind in total focus into taking it away from any other thought and focusing on what is it that you are doing. So this is the yoga of practicing single pointed attention in any work we do, and this is called training the mind. This is how we train the mind. So Akshara Brahman, which is the word for the imperishable Brahman that we are talking about, it cannot be explained by words. It cannot be explained by aksharas. Words cannot explain it, because the unknown, this is an unknown. So the unknown can be defined only in relation to what is known. If I don't know, let's say that I am driving somewhere and I don't know where is, let's say, Palghar. I don't know where is Palghar. So I am driving. Somebody tells me, udhar Manori Naka mein se left lo. So I don't know Manori Naka also. But on the road I see Manori Naka. Oh, Manori Naka, somebody told me. At Manori Naka you turn left. I'll turn left. So from the known, I find out what is the unknown. So unknown can be known only in relation to what is known. Therefore, when we want to show the direction towards that highest which is functioning, which is the operating reality in all of us, it can be known only in relation to what we know, which is what? Our body, mind, intellect, objects, emotions, thoughts, perceiver, feeler, thinker. I will share that slide once again so that we know what we are discussing. This I had shown you probably multiple times in the last so many sessions. So through the body, mind and intellect, we become the perceiver, feeler and thinker of the objects, emotions and thoughts. The distinct qualities that we have is only because of this bundle of imprints, these vasanas in us. Now if we remove that, we are in a position to recognize the operating principle, the supreme, the Akshara Brahman, the imperishable Brahman that is there. So to know that, you have to use the apparatus that we have. To overcome the imprints, you have to use the apparatus that we have, and that is how through constant practice we will be in a position to recognize that operating principle, realize that operating principle and work with that as our guiding force always in life. This is what I wanted to share. Now I'll take it forward. Now, what is it that we know? From the known we know the unknown, I said. What is it that we know? What we know is a very, very small quantity of knowledge that we have is a very small quantum. There is a world of knowledge that I am ignorant to. For example, I am now talking to you about this. I am a chartered accountant, but if you ask me something about medicine other than reading my medical report, I don't know anything else. Even there, I cannot make head or tail out of it. So there is a world of knowledge that I am ignorant to. And there are many other people who know a lot of things that I don't know. And they probably don't know the knowledge that I have. So the world is full of such people. Somebody knows this, somebody knows that, somebody knows this. So what I know is a small quantum. What you know is a small quantum. And this Lord, who is the supreme principle, he is energizing all of us. Like how whatever I know and I am sharing, there is this energy which is working on me. He energizes you also, everybody else. So he is the one. Through each one of us, he is the one who's aware of all the knowledge in the world itself. Every knowledge of the world, he is aware of. Which is why we call him omniscient. When we use the word omniscient, this is what we mean. Through the collective, whatever is the knowledge that we have, and those we don't have, there are many people who don't know anything, which probably somebody unknown to us must be having. Everything is known by that principle. So the Lord is the omniscient. So he is the one who is the ruler. He rules all of us. He is the energizing principle in all of us. So you can, is there a time for him? There is no time for him. So he is the most ancient because he is the ruler of everything in the universe. So it becomes very, very subtle. It is not something which we can identify with something we know, because whatever we know is all very gross. In a gross form only we know. And I will explain that subtlety a little more in detail here. We all know ice. Now where did ice come from? Ice came from condensation of water. So water, which was a body, it got condensed and it became ice. Now if I subject this ice to heat, this water, I'm sorry, if I subject that to heat, extreme heat, it will become steam. So from water, ice came, ice melted and it became water. It became subtler. Water is subtler than ice. Now the water got heat and it became steam, vapor. Steam is subtler than water. So then steam will go to where? The steam is going into space. Space is subtler than steam. And space, can you see? We are all existing in space. Can we see? We can't see. So when we talk about this principle, this life principle, it is subtler than space also. So it is the most subtlest of all of these things. So when we understand God, we say that it is the subtlest of everything that we know. And I want to explain that with another slide. because these things we can only relate to what we know. Now, some of you may be aware, some of you may not be aware. I had published a book about 2 years ago in e-version of that book. It's a compilation of 360 thoughts which I wrote on a day-to-day basis from a verse or something which was there written by a very learned saint or something earlier. From there I picked up certain verses, and I wrote certain thoughts on that. I distributed that into 18 chapters of 20 verses each, so that it can be useful as a daily thought guide to many people. Now 360, there are 5 more days left. You can say that that is your casual leave, sick leave, this leave, that leave, privilege leave, everything together. 5 days I have not considered. 360 thoughts are there. In that, there is one thing I just wanted to share. This is again a verse from Gita, but I have tried to bring in a thought here. See, cotton which is grown in the field, it dies to become yarn, because we pick up the cotton and we make it into yarn. Now the yarn which is now processed afterwards, it becomes a fabric. And then the fabric is later transformed into a shirt because I'm wearing a shirt. So it becomes the garment, the shirt that I'm wearing. The seed which is there, seed dies to become a sapling, and the sapling grows into a plant. So the sapling is died now. Now the plant dies, and then that becomes a tree. So the underlying cotton in the garment or the seed in the tree is its essential nature. So the underlying principle in us is that life principle. That is the underlying principle in us, from which everything else has come. So the underlying principle is our essential nature. And creation happens because there is a change in matter from one state to the other. So what is our problem? We grieve at the changes. ये हो गया, वो हो गया, ये नहीं होना चाहिए था, वो नहीं होना चाहिए था. Because there is a comfort zone in which we are living, and we are uprooted from the known comfort zone. But we forget that our essential nature of divinity is what is the essential nature of everybody. So there is nothing to fear. That is something which we need to remember. I just wanted to share this thought. I'll take it forward now. So what we know is all restricted to certain forms. Cotton, form. Yarn, form. Fabric, form. Garment, form. But cotton inside is subtlest. We don't know. We know that there was a cotton. Can you see the cotton? It is not there because it is its essential nature. So this travels beyond our intellect, and it cannot be restricted to a form. So that principle, the supreme principle itself, cannot be restricted to a form. So it is like the light which illumines darkness as well as light. How do you know that there is light? The sun gives you light, so you are seeing light. There is a light which is there, so there is light. So you are able to say that no, you are seeing light. But how do you see darkness? In darkness, if I have to see darkness, I will switch on the torch. There is light. Then how can you see darkness? Even in darkness, when you know that there is darkness, there is a light in darkness itself. That light which is unseen, but I know because when I am in darkness, I know that there is darkness. The light which sees that darkness is this supreme principle. That is what sees the darkness. So what I am enabled to see itself is because of that principle itself. The song that comes to my mind is like Shahenshah. He is like the Shahenshah, the ruler of all of us. अंधेरी रातों में सुनसान राहों पर एक मसीहा निकलता है जिसे लोग शहंशाह कहते हैं. That is what it is. So we have to hold our mind in attention towards that light. And that is the effort required from us consciously. In every work that we do, we should become conscious that it is that light which is making me work. So it is that, it is a roadmap. That light is showing me the roadmap to reach inside. It is an inward journey that we make. So if I have to go to some place, I will take a roadmap. Like I said, Palghar I am going. I will take a roadmap. Manori, I have to take left. So this is the roadmap. Our effort itself is a roadmap, and that is how we reach through all these equipment that we have to reach that innermost principle which is inside us, and that way it is a inward journey. So how do we do that? By closing all the doors within you. What are those doors? If you remember, I had used that word Navadware Pure. So all those equipment from which our mind leaks out. I want to see this, I want to hear this, I want to smell this, I want to taste this, etc., etc. So all these things, you control them. You can't stop them. If you stop, you are not living. You control them. And the mind should be held in the intellect. Mind should be held in the intellect, so that what are you saying? I will not now say that, अरे वो आ गया, अभी वो करते हैं, ये आ गया, पानी पीने को गया, जाके जूस पीते हैं. So the mind is controlled in the intellect. At the moment I want to go and drink water, I will focus only on that. No new desires are pushing my mind to try out something new. So that mind becomes devoted to the higher principle. Now, extroverted expressions in the world outside. So everything that पानी पीने जा रहा हूं, I have to say, अरे मैं पानी पीने जा रहा हूं. It is not required. No, पानी पीना है, जाओ पी के आओ. So that expressions which are not required, you are not spending your energy on making those expressions. And you have to understand that there is this principle within you. So you have to find a word. Somebody will say Ya Allah, somebody will say Oh Jesus, somebody will say Krishna, somebody will say Rama, somebody will say Nanak. Whatever it is, that syllable, whatever it is that is appealing to your heart, devoting to your heart, that you must utter silently within yourself. And the intellect gradually then will drive us towards that reality. So this is what was mentioned earlier when I was speaking about death. So you then are no longer identifying with your body and your mind and your intellect in the functioning. You are seeing that there is this energy which is coming to me, and that energy is what is making everything happen. Like it is you know what what do you mean by forgetting the body? Like supposing you are playing cricket and you are getting injured. You don't even remember that you're getting injured, because your focus is entirely on the game that you're playing. So you forget the body. Your focus is on what you are playing. So there is no identification with the body. For example, at the end of the day, you want to go to sleep. You're tired and you just want to go and sleep. When you sleep, what do? You have forgotten your body, you've forgotten your mind, you've forgotten your intellect, and you simply go to sleep. Because what you want is sleep. Because the mind wants to rest. So at that point in time, is there any identification with the body, with the mind, the intellect? Nothing. You are asleep. Next day morning when you wake up, only you now identify with that same apparatus. Similar to that is this exercise, which by constant practice in the seat of meditation, this also becomes a possibility. Now once we have gained that experience, even when working in the world and doing whatever we are acting, we will not be troubled by any experience that comes to us. No matter whatever is the difficulty, whatever is the challenge, you will not be troubled, because we will be always connected to that higher principle and in full happiness. Because at all times we know that I am doing, the result will be on the basis of what will come, and I know for a fact that that reality, that supreme, will always be with me. It is going to make me achieve whatever I have set out to achieve. So it is definitely going to happen. So I will now play 5:45. I'll play verse 17 to 28, which is the end, and close it after that.
सहस्रयुग पर्यन्तं महर्यद् ब्रह्मणो विदुः रात्रिं युगसहस्रान्तां तेहो रात्रविदो जनाः अव्यक्ताद्व्यक्तयः सर्वाः प्रभवन्त्यहरागमे रात्र्यागमे प्रदीयन्ते तत्रैवाव्यक्तसंज्ञके भूतग्रामः स एवायं भूत्वा भूत्वा प्रलीयते रात्र्यागमे वशः पार्थ प्रभवत्यहरागमे परस्तस्मात्तु भावोऽन्यो व्यक्तो व्यक्तात् सनातनः यः स सर्वेषु भूतेषु नश्यत्सु न विनश्यति अव्यक्तोऽक्षर इत्युक्तस्तमाहुः परमां गतिम् यं प्राप्य न निवर्तन्ते तद्धाम परमं मम पुरुषः स परः पार्थ भक्त्या लभ्यस्त्वनन्यया यस्यान्तःस्थानि भूतानि येन सर्वमिदं ततम् यत्र काले त्वनावृत्तिम् आवृत्तिं चैव योगिनः प्रयाता यान्ति तं कालं वक्ष्यामि भरतर्षभ अग्निर्ज्योतिरः शुक्लः षण्मासा उत्तरायणम् तत्र प्रयाता गच्छन्ति ब्रह्मविदो जनाः धूमो रात्रिस्तथा कृष्णः षण्मासा दक्षिणायनम् तत्र चान्द्रमसं ज्योतिर्योगी प्राप्य निवर्तते शुक्लकृष्णे गतीह्येते जगतः शाश्वते मते एकया यात्यनावृत्तिं मन्यया वर्तते पुनः नैते श्रुति पार्थ जानन् योगी मुह्यति कश्चन तस्मात् सर्वेषु कालेषु योगयुक्तो भवार्जुन वेदेषु यज्ञेषु तपःसु चैव दानेषु यत्पुण्यफलं प्रदिष्टम् अत्येति तत्सर्वमिदं विदित्वा योगी परं स्थानमुपैति चाद्यम् ॐ तत्सदिति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे अक्षरब्रह्मयोगो नाम अष्टमोऽध्यायः।
What is this world? Is the world same for everybody? We say this is a world. So when I say world, this is the idea, this is the picture that comes to our mind. So is this the world the same for everybody? Actually it is not. Because if you were to look at it, you say you're in love with somebody and then you tell that person, oh, you are my world. You are doing a particular work. For example, I'm a chartered accountant. So I will say the world of chartered accountants. Somebody is a businessman, the world of businessmen. Somebody is a teacher, the world of teachers. So there is a separate private world itself in the way we converse for everybody in different work fields. And there is a separate private world for me also. My private world is what? That, I have my wife, my children, my parents, my brother, sister, my work, my this, my that, everything. Now that is my private world. When I sleep, what happens to that private world? That private world also goes to sleep with me. When I wake up, what happens? That world also wakes up. So I project my personal world with my mind. You project your personal world with your mind. Somebody else does it with their or her or his mind. So each of our worlds projects as per our respective minds as they are reaching out to the world of objects, world of emotions, world of thoughts through our body, through our mind and through our intellect. This is how the world is, isn't it? Now the total mind of all these different people with private worlds is the total imprints that we are creating, because we are creating imprints in our mind. So the total imprints of everybody toward the cosmic imprints that we are creating, that cosmic imprint is the Lord itself. Because where is it all going? Which is the total mind? It is the Lord himself. Everybody's mind collectively becomes the Lord's mind. So the macrocosmic, the Lord's mind, who expresses through each of us, that Lord's mind expresses through each of us as our private world. We create something, we hold and try to preserve something, and we destroy something. What is that? Some thought comes to my mind. So that is a creation. And then we try to retain the good ones which are useful for us. So that is my holding it back for my utility. And then some thoughts which are there which we say, no, it is not useful for me, either negative or no longer useful, we destroy it. So when we understand in our Hindu culture, we talk about that Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh as the creator, the protector and the destroyer. This Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh is in each of us. In each of us, at every given moment, the moment you create a thought, it is Brahma. The moment you retain that thought, it is Vishnu. The moment you destroy that thought, it is Shiva. So that power of that Trinity is in each of us. It is how we create our world. We allow our world to dissolve in our own experiences. That is how we live. So similarly, when we look at it, at sleep, when we are sleeping, whatever are those imprints which we have, whatever are those vasanas which we have, which we are aware of. Like for example, if I see a gulab jamun, I want to eat it. If I see a danger, I want to avoid it. So these are things which which we have already stored in the form of our experiences. Now these are manifested when we are awake. The moment I sleep, they all go to sleep with me. I am no longer aware of it. And the moment I wake up, they also wake up. There is perfect continuity between these two. Every day this is happening. So when I am, and every day this is happening differently to different people. When I sleep, you may not sleep. When you sleep, your neighbor may not sleep. So everybody, this waking up and awaking is happening on a constant basis. So these imprints, they get life on the basis of how we come up and how we experience, how we dissolve them. It is entirely left to us. So when we look at our mind itself, when we are morose, when we are sad, when we are in trouble, time moves very slowly. When we are happy, when we are cheerful, time simply flies. So our measurement of time is relative to the subject or the state of mind in each of us. So it is an individual subjective experiences. So we understand that me, the personality, with these subjective experiences in terms of the time, is energized by my Ishvara, my Lord. Because I am on the basis of what is my world, isn't it? So when we go into meditation, when we are in that contemplative state of mind, there is total, what can I say, discontinuity in terms of having to converse with our mind, intellect, etc. because we are trying to connect with my Ishvara. So at that point in time, what should be your attitude? कुछ ना कहो, कुछ भी ना कहो, क्या कहना है, क्या सुनना है, समय का ये पल तुमको पता है, मुझको पता है, समय का ये पल थम सा गया है और इस पल में कोई नहीं है, बस एक मैं हूँ, बस एक तुम हो. So we become the observer of this phenomenon itself, that when this time of mine comes to a halt, I am one with my Ishvara, my Lord, which is within me, and there is nothing more to want. There is nothing more to want for. So I can recognize this change in me only when I am out of the change. If I am in the circumstances of the change, if I am with my mind and intellect, with all the thoughts, with my imprints, I can't recognize this. For example, if I am traveling in a car, I cannot see the change of what is happening outside. If there is a car which is traveling alongside me at the same speed as I am, I have no idea of change. But the moment that car goes away, or maybe the moment I get out of that car and stand, I can see all the cars going. I can see every movement which is happening. So I become the observer of that change which is happening. So as the observer of my movements in my mind and in my intellect, once I recognize this principle in operation, there is no limitation within me. I recognize that the changeless supreme which is there is with me, and in total devotion I can do everything. With love I can do everything that I want to do under the sun. So I'll just close with one song. जैसे सूरज की गर्मी से जलते हुए तन को मिल जाए तरवर की छाया, ऐसा ही सुख मेरे मन को मिला है, मैं जब से शरण तेरी आया मेरे राम. Remember that principle is always there. We just have to surrender ourselves to that. So it is like how in the scorching heat of the sun, in the scorching heat of various experiences that we have, and if we go and sit under the tree, if we go under the shelter of that principle within us, we suddenly become calm, we suddenly become submissive to everything that we want to do, and every action that we do after that will be only to our own happiness, to our own creativity, to our end purpose in life, which is to be and remain happy always. So I will leave all of you with these thoughts. Reflect on this, and as it occurs, as I said, the more technical as it will go, I will try to condense it in as easy a manner as possible so that I can share it with you. Any questions you have, you can share with me. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. हरिः ओम्. श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः. हरिः ओम्.